Vegetable beef soup. I can't think of anything else I'd rather have on a cold winter day. Let's get right into it. First, you want to start out by browning some ground beef, if that's what you have. After all, this is a vegetable beef soup. I had some ground elk on hand, so I just went ahead and browned that ground elk that I had. You take that out, and then you're going to add your beef shank. Beef shank has a lot of flavor, as most bone-in cuts of beef do. There's a lot of flavor in those bones and a lot of flavor in that meat. So for soups and stews, definitely try to find you some bone-in meat. And we're going to brown those. Okay, so first I'm adding some salt here. I'm using Redmond's sea salt, Redmond's real salt. It's really good. And just going to put some salt on these. And we're going to brown these beef shanks for about 4 to 5 minutes on each side. You really want to get a nice color on the meat. The more color, the more flavor. More flavor you're going to have in that stock. So just think of it that way. And it may stick a little bit to the bottom of the pan. That's okay. That's quite all right. That's flavor. That's an easy fix. And I'll show you that in just a second. So we're flipping these beef shanks over. We're going to do another 4 or 5 minutes on that side. We want good color on both sides. And I almost have too much in this pot, but it'll be okay. I usually don't want to crowd the pot or the pan, but I had just enough room for these 3 beef shanks. All right, we're going to take them out. Nice and brown on both sides. And you can see the bottom of the pot looks a little rough, stuff sticking to it. This is where you're going to fix that. You're just going to add those diced vegetables in. I've got carrots, onions, celery, garlic. They go into the pot, and we're going to sweat those for 2, 3, 4 minutes here. And you're just going to stir those around. Those are going to help loosen up, those bits that stuck to the pot. And all that's flavor. You're building flavors here in this soup. I'm adding some fresh cracked black pepper. I can't think of anything that I cook that I do not use black pepper. I mean, it's salt and pepper. And I'm also going to add a couple of teaspoons of tomato paste. I like this brand. This is really good tomato paste. It's also convenient. It comes in a tube. You just unscrew the cap, squeeze it in, put the cap back on, and it can go in the refrigerator, and it's just easy to work with. You can use whatever tomato paste you like. And we're going to give that a stir, and we're going to cook that tomato paste for a couple of minutes. Again, we're just building flavors here. One thing I would have liked to add into this soup, but I didn't have any on hand, is a bay leaf. 1 or 2 bay leaves in a soup or a stew adds nice flavor. So the beef shanks are going back in on that bed of veggies there. And we don't want to waste that. We don't want to waste that juice. That's a lot of flavor there. So that goes right back into the pot as well. And we're going to crank the heat up because we're going to be adding our liquid. And in this case, I have some beef bone broth. I'm going to add the entire carton here. Bone broth is really, really good. Adds a lot of flavor. It's very rich. As you can see, the color there. You could use water. You can use some bouillon cubes. You can, whatever you have on hand or whatever you like. But In this case, I'm going with bone broth because I'm looking for a lot of flavor in this soup. And I'm also going to add some water. You know, you're going to lose some liquid over the, the period of time that you're cooking this because it's going to take 2-3 hours for those beef shanks to become tender. So naturally, you're going to lose some liquid. So adding that water, a lot of that water is going to evaporate. So, and we're adding the ground elk back into the pot. And we're going to give it a stir. Get it all mixed in there together. It's already smelling amazing. If you didn't want vegetables, if you just wanted beef soup at this point, you wouldn't add anything else. So we're going to bring this to a boil. Going to let it simmer for 2.5-3 hours until your meat is tender. And in this case, it's looking pretty good. It's not quite falling off the bone. That's all right. I'm going to cut this up into little cubes anyway. And it's going to go back into the pot and cook for an additional 30-45 minutes once I add the rest of the vegetables in there. So, it's a good time to pull these out. Just got to fish them all out here. There we go. It smells unbelievable. There we go. Put the lid back on. That's just slowly simmering. I turned the burner down low at this point because I'm waiting for these beef shanks to cool just a little bit so I can get in there and chop them up. As you can see, I can pull the meat right off. Here, I'm just demonstrating how tender it is at this point. All right, so I pulled those off the bone, cut them up in little cubes. They're going back into the pot. And I want to make sure this soup is nice and hot at this point, so I've turned the burner back up on high. And you'll see why in just a moment. All right, I've got a couple of Yukon Gold potatoes, diced potatoes that I'm adding to the pot. And I'm also going to put in some vegetables here. I've got some okra, some sweet green peas, and lima beans, the frozen variety. If you have fresh, even better. But frozen is just as good, and you can basically get it year-round. So you could use a can also. I do cook, like canned beans all the time, but for this particular, this particular meal, I like the frozen. So. And as you can see, I'm eyeballing all this stuff. I'm not measuring anything. I'm just kind of eyeballing it, going by feel. I know what result I'm looking for at the end, how much texture I want in the soup, how much liquid I have, how much liquid I want. Do I want it really chunky? Do I want liquid? So just add whatever you like. Just feel comfortable doing whatever you like. There's no rules here, whatever. There's no rules here. So there I added some pinto beans. I love beans, so why not? So we're going to let that cook for another 45 minutes. You want to make sure those vegetables are done. Everything's tender. And for a final touch, we're just going to add in some fresh chopped parsley. And it looks beautiful. A lot of flavor here. Oh, there's a little steam hitting the camera. Maybe you could smell it. I don't know. We're going to turn this burner off, and we're done. The soup is done. And I can't even wait. I've got to have a bowl right now. As you can see, it's still simmering. And I'm just going to get right into it. I woke up this morning and I was just have those cravings. And so, you just cook what you like. All right, ladling out a few spoonfuls here. And I'm going to get some broth on there as well. And that looks really, really good. You can sort of see everything there. The lima beans, the pinto beans, the carrots, the beef shank, the ground elk. Smells amazing, looks amazing. Final touches, more fresh cracked black pepper. And I'm just going to get right in here. There you have it, vegetable beef soup. It's pretty easy to make. If you have a little bit of time on your hands, everything tastes better when you take the time to prepare it. Not much better on a cold winter day. Hope you like the video.